We are now talking to Sportsline NFL analyst Steve Vanover. Steve, what's going on, man?
All right. It's a pleasure. How you doing?
We're good, man. As you heard the last take with baseball, and then our crazy guest, Jeff from Tampa, who obviously doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, but we know you do. How are you doing, obviously, with the COVID situation, you and your family, and everything that's been going on? Is everything good?
Oh, yeah. We're out here in Southern California, so we get to do everything outside. You wear a mask. We're getting ready to go to a Dallas Cowboys camp here in a few weeks. It's going to be great.
We have a lot of Dallas Cowboy haters and lovers that listen to this show. So are you a Dallas Cowboy fan?
Nothing in between. Nothing in between. You either love or hate. There's no middle road.
Are you a Dallas Cowboy fan?
Yeah, I actually am, but I'm also probably the biggest critic. I mean, 25 years of 500 ball. Don't get me started.
As everybody knows, we are talking to Sportsline NFL analyst Steve Vanover. Steve, obviously you're an NFL analyst. What were some of your thoughts this offseason so far with some of these NFL teams? We'll get into the draft. Obviously, free agency opened up. What stood out to you so far in free agency, winners and losers, as far as what you've seen?
Okay, free agency again this year, the big winners were the owners, as they were able to really keep the prices down. Free agency now is broken up into three distinct sections. You have the day one guys who still get pretty good money, but and that's where the new bombs are being signed, the huge contracts, these day one deals. Then after that, there's about a 2-week break, and you get another big group. And then you get another group right after the draft. And that's it. It's just a trickle. They've really slowed down the free agent process. A lot of teams are re-signing their own players, and it's different. It's different.
So we've seen a lot of receivers and also quarterback movement of top players because of that. Like, they're getting the leverage, especially now with the wide receivers too. Do you think there is going to be some extent where it becomes like a player power league for those top players, like you were saying?
It almost already is. I mean, everybody waited to see what Aaron Donald was going to do before they made their move. And then, like you said, right now the wide receivers have tremendous leverage with the new contracts. So they're actually maneuvering their teams into whether they'll stay, whether they'll go, what they get. And it's the haves and the have-nots in the NFL now. The few guys at the top are making mega. And then beyond that, it's guys that are first, second, third year. When it comes time for that second contract, if you're not a top-tier guy, you're gone.
As everybody knows, we're talking to Sportsline NFL analyst Steve Vanover. Steve, we're here in New York. Everybody was looking forward to the Jets free agency market. They added Lincoln Tomlinson. They added some pieces. They added 2 really good tight ends in Conklin and Osama. And everybody was looking at the draft, and then they had one of the best drafts. They have arguably the best player in the draft. They drafted Sauce Gardner. Then they went after arguably one of the best wide receivers in the draft in Garrett Wilson, and then moved up to get Jermaine Johnson and Breece Hall, and really dominated. A lot of people thought dominated this year's draft. What were your thoughts so far this offseason for the New York Jets?
Well, I want to know who actually did the draft for the New York Jets, because it wasn't the New York Jets I've seen in the last 10 years. No way. They shoot themselves in the foot. They do something wrong, and then just pick after pick, move after move, just solid. I think the Jets are one of the team that can do the bounce, go from bottom of their division here to the top. They're not going to make the top, don't get me wrong, but they have so much talent right now, and it can all come together in a heartbeat. You know how it goes. One of the things you have to do is you have to be able to cover that A1 receiver, that WR1. There's only a handful of those in the league, but they face a few of them, and they get Sauce Gardner. It's not enough to get a player that's good, but a player that fits your division, that's going to help your weakness. I mean, home run.
So speaking of shooting themselves in the foot, Jacksonville, they've been another team that's done that in drafts the last couple of years. And they went for a big surprise at number 1, taking Trayvon Walker, which really was only thought of in the number 1 pick in like the last month before the pre-draft process. So what were your thoughts on that and the way they've built their team?
Well, I think their whole draft, it at least showed a thought process. That's what I think about it. They're hanging their hat on Trevor Lawrence. And one of the big questions I'm looking at now, I'm studying is which players are going to make the leap this year. I don't care if it's a rookie, second year, third year wide receiver, whatever. And I come down to Trevor Lawrence or Trey Lance of the 49ers. One of those two guys, I think, is just going to explode. I think Trey Lance is the bigger boom bust. I think Trevor Lawrence is the more sure shot, but he's a really good guy. He was just in an incredibly bad situation. And everything they did in the draft was geared, it was a purpose. It wasn't necessarily a home run, but you could see the logic behind their draft. And I'm hearing in their mini camps and everything that it's organized, you're going in, it's focused. It's all good news down there. Now we're going to find out what Trevor Lawrence can do.
I believe in the Easter Bunny too. So,
I mean, anything's more organized and focused than Urban Meyer.
as far as we talk about Trevor Lawrence, we've seen it many times in many different years. If everybody remembers Archie Manning, he was dealt a bad hand. He went to the Saints and never really became the player that he once people thought he once was going to be. So, and we can go up and down the rankings every 10 years when there's a player like, I don't know, Ryan Leaf, okay? He's one of those guys. Jamarcus Russell. These guys had tremendous talent coming out of the draft. Tim Couch, okay?
Oh, yeah.
All these guys, but never produced. Why? Because they got put in bad situations. So
I want to know what you got against Tim Couch, lumping him in with those other two morons.
I like Timmy. I remember when he came out of the draft, and everybody thought.
He just wasn't good enough.
Well, he wasn't good enough because of the team he was playing for. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. But the other two guys, oh man. I was there and got to see in person some of that stuff, and it's just unbelievable. Watching the meltdown on the sidelines. Down in San Diego, yelling at the fans. I mean, looking like a petulant child that he actually is. It was just an amazing meltdown. Amazing.
Yeah, Ryan Leaf is definitely, but he had a lot of emotional problems. But maybe if he went to an organization that could have controlled him, and listen, at the time, San Diego was a very well-run, oiled machine. They just went the route of Ryan Leaf when they did. Did they make a mistake? Obviously, they did. I mean, that set their team back, but it also had, ways of falling in a good way where they got Phillip Rivers and now obviously have Justin Herbert and maybe eventually, even though it's not San Diego anymore, it's the L.A. Chargers.
The
maybe,
third team of L.A.
Maybe they'll win.
Don't forget the QB right before Rivers.
Rivers, yep.
He turned out pretty good too.
Yes. So
and then they got Smith. Who was the GM, and he had the huge ego, and he wanted his guys, so he drafted Rivers. And then, of course, the other guy hurt his shoulder. He went to the Saints. Yeah, he didn't do too good.
Nah, he won a Super Bowl. Phillip Rivers still hasn't won one, and I think the Chargers are still waiting for one. So there you go. But anyways, as everybody knows, we are talking to Sportsline NFL analyst Steve Vanover. The New England Patriots. And that's the team that everybody's looking at. You heard Mac Jones looks really good. I mean, he's lost a tremendous amount of weight. He's in shape. His arm's a lot stronger, some people are saying. They added Parker. They added some weapons in the offseason. They have a very good running game. Their defense was one of the best in the league. But they don't have Tom Brady there anymore. And it seems like it's been a problem ever since he's left. What are your thoughts to this year with a better AFC and a better AFC East with some of these teams like Miami, the Jets, and even Buffalo?
Pats are in trouble, man. And it's who they lost in the coaching and who they gained. I mean, they lost Daniels. Say what you will about him as a head coach. Offensive coordinator, that guy knew his stuff. He took Mac Jones and designed an offense for him that he could handle perfectly. It was awesome. Well, he's gone, and Matt Patricia, you guys remember him.
Matt Patricia's the offensive coordinator now? Give me a break. Oh,
yeah, I mean, make him defensive coordinator, but no, make him offensive coordinator. So
don't worry, Joe Judge is on that staff too.
So anyhow, it's a mess. It could work out pretty good because I will never bet money against Bill Belichick. It could work out, but I think they got a tall mountain to climb. And it's the Buffalo Bills division right now.
The starting quarterbacks this year, I know they're not really the highest hype guys. Kenny Pickett, there's a chance he could start, but beyond that, not really thought of as that. Do you see any of them as future developmental starters, even though they weren't as highly touted in this draft?
You mentioned the guy right there, Kenny Pickett. He's not highly touted. Small hands. I don't know why. He doesn't get any respect. I love that because he can wear his shoulder. He's a student of the game. He's where he played 15 feet away. He went in that door and played in that stadium. It's not going to be too big for him. If he can get in the game, I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. And it's going to take a while.
Justin Herbert, he seems like the talk of the town. Everybody thinks he's the next quarterback to move forward, just like Joe Burrows did last year. Went to the Super Bowl, took his team all the way there. But this could be Justin Herbert's year. I mean, every single offensive weapon came back. Their offensive line got stronger, adding Johnson in the draft. They got arguably the best offensive lineman in the draft last year. And then you look at some of the defensive weapons that they brought in. Two superstar players in Khalil Mack and obviously J.C. Jackson from the New England Patriots. What are your thoughts to the Chargers this year with Justin Herbert and team as a whole?
I like the Khalil Mack addition. Of course, Chargers fans tend to go overboard, and they think of Khalil Mack from 3-4 years ago. That's not who they're getting. But they're getting a really good guy. And so he's going to help. And I totally agree with you about Justin Herbert. He's the real deal. He's not quite where Burrows is. I mean, Burrows made a huge leap. But he definitely has the skill set, the arm. He's fearless. He makes good decisions. And he has an underappreciated wide receiving core, if you ask me. He really does. And so it's just a matter of keeping that running game consistent, which if they can avoid injuries, I think they can surprise a lot of people.